Hi, Lynne. Hi, Sean.
Hi.
Hi, Katie.
So, questions for you. What do you know about kidney disease?
Well, mostly from listening to you and your travails with your dear dad. And actually, I don't know whether we had another friend who actually had a liver transplant. Did Anne have liver or kidney?
I think it was kidney.
You do? Okay.
And
So,
was Michael
Raleigh.
Michael Raleigh?
oh, Michael
Yeah.
Raleigh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
that
his
was-
story is amazing because of his friend, right? That this woman
was the donor.
who was the donor, and he has been, just so wonderfully grateful to her every year. I think he thanks her for another year of life. It's brilliant.
And she, talk about someone who is worthy. This person who,
And didn't Selena
Took it.
Gomez just have one of her fans just donate?
I heard that too. I haven't looked into it yet.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's really cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
And the fact that Michael wrote a play about
right.
what happened to both of them,
Yeah,
both her experience and his getting the transplant and the waiting for the transplant, which was harrowing. The story of as his health got worse and worse, and no transplant. It took a while, and he was in pretty bad shape
Yeah.
by the time he
Yeah.
did find a donor.
yeah. I mean, I've always filled out my donor card. I don't.
Yeah.
God, I'm 65 now. I don't know if anybody would want these old things, but they've kept
I
me
bet you
working.
I bet you there's people that would.
well, they're still working for me, so they're certainly
Yeah.
you're welcome to them when I'm gone, because I think it's a brilliant, and I always have. I've always, and now I'm encouraging people to do it online too, because they're going. Don't just have that in your wallet filled out from like 5 years ago. Keep going
have the
on and make
digital
sure that
record,
it's updated. Yeah.
So you're both organ donors?
Yes.
Have been for a long time. When you fill out the card, do you fill out everything? Or is there anything that you're like, don't take
No,
that?
they can have
No,
everything,
everything.
especially my brain.
And because you go, I once you've left this body, it's like it is basically something to be used. It's never seemed strange or
No.
icky or gruesome
Well,
or
you're
anything.
big into recycling anyway. It's basically that,
Yeah.
isn't it? And if
Yeah,
someone else
and
can
life-saving
have an opportunity,
recycling.
I mean, we were just talking, Katie, about seeing the the video this morning of a young girl, maybe 2 years old or something, who said, I don't know whether that's the first eye transplant, but I was just like amazed at what they are able to do.
And that she had never
I mean,
seen.
wouldn't you have to connect all the optic nerves and everything? I don't know. Or maybe when
guess.
you're a baby, it's okay. They can,
Well, it's microsurgery, I
I
would think.
guess. But anyway, I think that's awesome. And people who've had whole faces done and stuff. I mean, the areas that are just getting more and more sort of almost like science fiction of what they're able to do.
Except that you can't quite do personality transplants yet.
Well, see, now I
thought
always
about getting
wondered
one of
that.
those.
I always wondered, especially if you've got someone's heart.
Would you
Like
get
a
the
heart
personality?
transplant, you would think, like, well, I would think that, well, there's not such a thing as a soul transplant, but isn't a heart part of your soul? And would you end up being,
Not technically. I would
well,
say.
you could either end up being a much more loving person, or I guess depending on the heart you got, or how you use the heart you get. Whoa.
So one last question. How do you define worthy?
Oh, you mean when people are on lists and,
No, just in general. How do
word
you define
worthy.
worthy?
well, I think everybody should be worthy, but I know, if you were, like, would you want, here's the question to you, would you want, like, a serial killer who needed your kidney or your heart or your liver? Would you want to give it to them? And are they as worthy as say, you know, the wonderful philanthropist or the priest or whatever. I mean, that becomes really hard, and that's not our decision to make, I think, as just as human beings. That's kind of a God's decision to make, who is worthy. Because I would say in the end, everybody should be.
Well, I think that's essentially it. That worthy. It's almost like the word is too subjective. It's like the idea is that there is an inherent worth in every human being, and for us to judge the value of one person versus another is is maybe taking a little more responsibility for defining who is or isn't
But
worthy.
how do they make that choice? If there's, say, an 8-year-old child or a 70-year-old man or woman, and you go, well, giving it to the 8-year-old child, they have a lifespan ahead of them, whereas maybe the 70-year-old person, maybe it, grants them another 10 or 15 or 20 years. It's so hard to say who is more worthy in that situation.
No, that's why I go. I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know that you
to
can.
take that responsibility.
And maybe not make it about age or race or color or gender or anything, that it's just literally everyone has equal right to be saved.
We're all worth it.
So that leads into the last question. Are you worthy?
Yes.
I'd like to think so. I'd give
No
you,
more so than anyone
I'd
else.
give you something of mine if I was compatible.
And
I mean, after
right back at ya.
30 years, if we're not compatible organ-wise, we're
Something
at least
is-
compatible otherwise. But yeah,
Do you consider yourself worthy?
Yeah, although I mean, I'm no, but I just say that if there was a child who needed something, and if it was put to me, like, would you rather have this child have this lung or heart or kidney, or are you going to take it? I would feel very much leaning towards, I've had a good life, I've had a charming life, you've been wonderful as a husband. I'm 65 years old, I'd love to have another 20 years, but I'd like to see that child given preference, I must admit. But I guess I'm worthy in some ways. Keep me alive for you. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You're